brunette. Charles played college soccer at SMU and was selected 80th overall. His contract is for the 2026 season with options through 2028 and 29. In college football, Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss is suing the NCAA in an attempt to return to Ole Miss for a 6th year of eligibility. Chambliss led the Rebels to the college football playoff semifinal this past season, beating Georgia in the All-State Sugar Bowl. Chambliss is ESPN's number 3 prospect for the 2026 NFL Draft. In Major League Baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies are releasing outfielder Nick Castellanos. Castellanos is due to make $20 million in what was his final year of his deal. Tonight, you can catch more NASCAR coverage at 6 with the Duel at Daytona and listen into the Daytona 500 this Sunday on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
For more, log on to thegamenashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Do you ever feel like gambling is causing financial strain or hurting your relationships? The Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling habits for over 2 decades. With physical clinics and remote online appointments, we're here to help you make informed decisions about your gambling. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com so we can work together to help you win back your life. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Brought to you by the Tennessee Gambling Clinic, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the George Plaster Show. We're close to Friday. It is a beautiful day, not just because it's beautiful outside, but the Olympics are going on, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Team USA is playing in ice hockey right now versus Latvia. I have been able to watch at least the first period, and it is 1-1, so it's a tie. Team USA had 2 goals called back, so it could have been 3-1, but Latvia had 2 successful challenges. I am wearing the only Predators jersey that I own because it is one of the few hockey things that I own, so you can call me very patriotic if you'd like. We have a loaded show today. We're going to have a debate during the 320 segment about who the Titans should draft at number 4 overall, or if they should trade back. I promise you're going to want to hear that. And at 4 o'clock, we're going to have the college basketball insiders as we continue to dive into the world of college basketball, as we are now less than 5 weeks away. I believe it's 31 days to be exact until we get our March Madness brackets. But first, let me remind you that if you haven't already, please subscribe to the George Plaster Show YouTube channel. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It just helps us here on the show, and we would greatly appreciate it. And you can also catch any shows that you might have missed. So always a good thing. Let's head out to Murfreesboro, where we will talk to Kelly Holcomb one final time before he disappears into the ether. So we will head out to Murfreesboro now. Kelly, how's it going?
Parker, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Have you been able to watch any of the Team USA versus Latvia?
I did not watch that, man. I was flipping through last night and caught some stuff, but I don't know, man. Like it's you want to be patriotic, man, but it's hard to sometimes for me to get into the Winter Olympics. I don't know why that is. Maybe I need to just force myself tonight to watch some of the goings on over there. But I don't know. I hate saying that because I am, you want to be patriotic, really man, but it's just
right now, Kelly. I can't lie.
I know I do, man. I was watching curling the other night, but like when you start talking about moguls and you start talking about that downhill stuff, I don't know, man. That doesn't do it for me,
I will say I do get more into the Summer Olympics. Every 4 years, I get Olympic fever, and I'll watch whatever is on the TV, and I'm glued to the TV. I went to the Olympics last year, so I love the Olympics. With the Winter Olympics, it's just, I don't know if it's just because they're less common sports than the Summer Olympics or what have you, but I feel like I'm into it more this year than I ever have been. And I will say, I started the Miracle documentary last night on Netflix. I didn't finish it, but it is fantastic so far. I'm going to finish it
Is it
tonight.
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to I need to check that out, man. I'm sure that is with the inside details of what went on back then was such a dramatic thing that people back in the day remember. I mean, I remember that happening, and that was just such a astonishing thing when you think that a bunch of guys, a bunch of kids beat the Russian stalwarts. That just, I don't know, that was pretty amazing. Nobody ever thought that was going to happen, and I can imagine. So I'll probably have to check that out at some point.
Yeah, and I will say you probably remember it better than others because you were just retiring from the NFL when that game was played. So you probably have a
Is
good
that right?
vantage point.
Is that right,
It is
Parker?
right.
You little, shut your little pump mouth.
That is a perfect segue into America's favorite update. So Kelly, I'm not sure if you've been keeping track of this. I've been trying the best that I can. I don't think they've made a decision yet, but it does not look good, or it does not appear good for Trinidad Chambliss, as I guess his first hearing was denied by the NCAA. And I'm trying to look at some updates from Ross Dellinger of On3 and Yahoo Sports. He does a great job reporting on all this. Closing arguments in the Trinidad Chambliss hearing have ended, and Judge Robert Whitwell is retiring to chambers. I don't know what that means, to be honest with you, for a potential decision. Chambliss counsel argued that the NCAA acted in bad faith, denying him a medical redshirt in 2022. NCAA claims there is not enough medical evidence. So it does not look good for Trinidad. I don't think he's going to get the extra year, but that is the latest, and that has been going on pretty much all morning and afternoon.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. It looks like the NCAA is trying to get a backbone, man. I don't, I know it's up to the judge, but hey, NCAA, we all talk about their court cases, but they're starting to try to fight back. And, the deal with the Bediako kid. Now, I know it's a state-to-state issue. I understand that, and it's all these judges in the state. But, hey, it's going to be interesting to see what the NCAA, when I asked Taylor Burnett yesterday, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do to Alabama for allowing him to come back and try to play. And then he had that, he was able to have that restraining order, a temporary restraining order, and he got to play a couple of games, and now he's ineligible, and that's kind of setting a precedence for all this stuff. And I don't know about how this is going to go with Joey Aguilar either. I mean, that's going to be a thing that we're going to have to keep a close eye on. So it looks like the NCAA is trying to get a backbone, and they're trying to nip things in the bud. I don't know if it's going to happen, but seems like it's trending that way.
The hearing took place in Pittsboro, Mississippi, the fine folks down there. It's beautiful this time of year. Trinidad Chambliss, his hearing started at 10:30 Eastern, so 9:30 our time. So we'll have to keep a close eye on how that goes, but I don't think it's going to go well for Trinidad Chambliss. As I mentioned, the U.S. and Latvia, they are coming out of the first intermission. I believe that second period just started, tied 1-1 last I checked. And earlier, Canada took a belt to the Czech, I guess it's the Czech Republic. They call themselves Czechia now. Took a belt to their backside. 5-0 was the final in that one. So
wow.
I don't know what that means in terms of the standings. I think everybody moves on to the next round. I'm not the hockey expert around here, but that is just the latest with everything that's going on. And Kelly, this isn't funny, so I feel bad for laughing. Did you see yesterday that Ukrainian, or not the Ukrainian guy, the Norwegian guy who admitted to cheating on his girlfriend after he won a medal and then tried to win her back?
I did not hear about that, Parker. Wow, that's so he admitted that?
He admitted it in an interview and then followed it up with he's trying to win her back.
Really? I wonder how that's going to work out for him.
For desperate measures, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to work out for him.
And there was also a Ukrainian athlete who had, I guess he had something on his helmet. I don't know if it was like a sticker or whatever of Ukrainian citizens that were killed during their, battle with Russia.
Right.
And he has since been, I guess he's not competing anymore because the Olympic Committee does not allow that.
Oh, really?
I think this could take some legal measures, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen
So,
that either, man. That's kind of crazy. Things are
some
going on in the
crazy,
world, man. That's for sure.
some crazy things going on. I was checking my email this morning, and I got this email from the Athletic. They give me like a pulse every morning of kind of what's going on in the sports world. And we don't talk NBA on this show. We don't talk a lot of it, at least. We may mention it every now and again. But I thought this was interesting because the headline is why NBA teams are tanking so hard this year. And apparently, I wouldn't know because I haven't watched a lick of the NBA this season, but the NBA has a tanking problem because of how talented the freshman class is. So everybody's trying to race to the bottom to get one of those picks.
Really, man. That's where we're falling to, man. That's
Oh, as a competitor, I wanted to throw up reading that this morning.
I know, man. That's kind of that is kind of sickening, man. I don't know how do you do that? How do you, in good conscience as a human being, know that you're not giving your all and that you're not coaching your all? I don't understand how you do that. Everybody nowadays say, in the NFL, in my sport, they were like, well, why don't we tank for the first pick? Like, I never had that in me. I can remember being in games where we knew, and I had a coach tell me, Coach Smith told me, he told me one time after the game, because we were playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and we had no chance of winning the game at the end, and yet I throw an interception. I had a bunch of that when I did that. I was stupid because I'm like, I'm not giving up. I'm still competing out here. And he was like, look here, man. He said, we have no shot of winning the game right here. We're down 17 points with 2 minutes to go. There's no shot. Why are you still doing this? Why are you throwing these balls up like this? It's only making you look bad. And he was right. He was right. But like, it was hard for me to not give, like, I'm not that type of person. And he said, yeah, but he said in the professional sports like this, sometimes when you do things like that, it's a bad omen on you. Because when you go into free agency or doing something like that, people look at numbers. They don't look how it is established. They don't look how you were doing in the game or what the game looked like. They look at numbers. And he said, just don't do that anymore. And I mean, I understood that, but like, that's just how my mentality is. And my mentality was, you can never give up on something, never quit. That's just how I am. And I just don't understand when you're getting into situations like this where they say you got to tank for the first pick. That's a bunch of BS.
Here's a comment from a YouTuber. I stopped watching the NBA when Wilt Chamberlain retired. I know that
that's a long time ago.
I know the basketball insiders come on here and talk about how they don't like the NBA. I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan of the product right now. I believe the last full NBA game I watched was the 2021 Finals Game 6 between the Bucks and Suns. But outside of that, I haven't really watched it. I'm just not a fan of the product right now. Conversation for another time. Kelly, I thought this was interesting because Joey Porter Sr., not Joey Porter Jr., Joey Porter Sr., came on a podcast that was recorded during Super Bowl week and basically said that Ben Roethlisberger was not a good teammate. And here's the full quote.
Oh, wow.
Number 7, and he's obviously referring to Ben Roethlisberger, definitely broke the brotherhood. Out of anybody that should talk, he should never grab a microphone and really talk Steeler business. Because if we talk Steelers business, his blank is a foul of all foul. The blank that he did is a foul of all foul. He's not a good teammate.
Oh, wow.
Did you ever know about?
No, I do not. You don't. There's a lot of guys toe the company line a lot. You understand that? Like when you're playing, when you get in front of the cameras, a lot of times guys are not going to say what's on their mind. They're going to toe the company line. And you never really know things like that until well after the fact of the years that it happened. You just don't know that stuff. And you don't, you hear things about certain people that you're like, wow, that was really the way it happened. And maybe that's just his recollection of things, or maybe, I don't know, maybe he was jaded by Roethlisberger at some point. I don't know. I mean, maybe the rest of his teammates felt like that. I don't know. I've heard of situations like that, but sometimes you have to put away your differences and just, hey, this is all about the team and let's come together. I know one thing. He won a lot of games there and he won 2 Super Bowls and he's considered, if not the best. I mean, the first 2, him and Terry Bradshaw are the guys that people think about when they think about Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks. So, I don't know, but it's funny how years later people come out and talk about things that went on in the locker room that you really don't know anything about.
Yeah, so I was surprised by that. I've never met Big Ben. I thought he was always a good teammate. I just kind of assumed that. So that's interesting to hear those comments. And some further news about the James Pierce incident with the Atlanta Falcons. So Rakia Jackson, his ex-girlfriend and the girl that he hit in the car, offered to testify versus James Pierce in the domestic case. And then his coach, Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator of the Falcons, obviously very disappointed in the whole deal. So it's just a really, really sad situation for James Pierce. And like Kelly, I hope there is an opportunity for him to get a second chance. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what this means for the future of his career, but obviously pretty sad. And then last night in college basketball, Tennessee beat Mississippi State on the road. And I realized yesterday while I was watching the game, I'm like, wait a minute, I might have accidentally said this game was in Knoxville. It was at Mississippi State. So Tennessee ended up winning that game 73-64. Later in the game, there was a steal from Bishop Boswell. He was able to save the ball from going out of bounds, passed it behind his back, threw it to Nate Ament. Ament threw it back, and then Bishop Boswell threw it up, and Ament slammed it home. It was a great play. Northwestern almost beat Michigan at home, but Michigan ended up pulling that one out in the final seconds, 87-75. Clemson fell to Virginia Tech, 76-66. So that's probably one of the bigger upsets of the night. Iowa also lost to Maryland, 77-70. That shouldn't have happened either. And then Ohio State, a team on the bubble, got a win over another team on the bubble in USC, 89-82. And Kelly, we've been talking about Kim Caldwell all week in her comments. Well, Kansas State head men's basketball coach Jerome Tang had some strong words for his team. Here's what he said after the game. Quote, "They don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here." And that's just a small snippet. So Kim Caldwell is not the only coach that has strong words for players after games.
Some of these head coaches are getting fed up with this garbage, man. They're about to pull their hair out. That's kind of crazy. They're going, but I mean, I remember guys back in the day used to say things too. So, it's different nowadays because people don't have very thick skin, and we talk about people being offended sometimes. But my college coach used to say stuff. I don't know if he ever said it publicly like that, but he used to say stuff too, and it was, sometimes it's to motivate you, just like Tom Izzo motivated the Fears guy, and it helped.
They're definitely not taking the Carl Smith approach. Can't get him to say anything bad about his players, which is a good thing. But
no, Coach Smith's not that guy, man.
And Kim Caldwell, man. Whew. Some college football news. SMU is moving its home game against Oklahoma in 27 and LSU in 29 to AT&T Stadium in Dallas. I hate neutral site games. I'm happy that they're playing LSU in Oklahoma, but I hate neutral site games. College baseball starts tomorrow, and tonight, the Big Daddy, Vanderbilt takes on Texas from Memorial Gymnasium. That is a top 5 matchup in the women's game with number 1 seed implications.
Wow. That should be good, man. You going? Are you going? Are you going?
Here's the thing. I wanted to go, and I was able to get tickets. No, honestly, hand on my heart. My wife made plans for us tonight, so I cannot go.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What did she make plans to do?
I'm excited for the plans, but I just can't go to Vanderbilt, Texas.
I'm gonna be like what I used to tell Billy to you. There's somebody for everybody, and sometimes when I look at you, Parker, it's amazing. I got to see your wife, man. Did you have some blackmail on her or something, man?
Kelly, I definitely outkicked my coverage. We'll say that.
Well, we all did, man. We all outkicked our coverage. There's no question about that. But there's somebody for everybody, Parker.
I know. Even people like me are, it's great. You'll have to meet her sometime, Kelly, if you ever get back from the place that you're going to. Which
we'll go to Outback, man. We'll go to Outback and we'll get you all you can eat soup and salad.
She'll love that. With that,
love it.
Let's go ahead and head to the commercial break. And on the other side, let's get ready to have a debate about who the Titans should draft at number 4. Although I think Kelly and I are probably going to be in agreement. But if you have thoughts, we're going to open up the phones at 3:45. We'd love to know what you think in regards to who you think the Titans should take at number 4, or is there a trade back option? We'll get to that on the other side. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. 292-3400.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Don't mind me, I'm just talking Tennessee. Girl, don't blame me.
Well done, Brando. Well done with the bump music. Talking Tennessee by Morgan Wallen. That's exactly what we're going to do because we were talking Tennessee Titans and who they should draft at number 4. So, Kelly, I've seen several mock drafts, most notably from the guys over at Fox Sports, that have the Titans taking this guy, and you can see him if you are watching by way of live stream. Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, which, to be honest, I believe that he's one of those can't miss prospects. So I'd be happy if the Titans took him. But there is one person in particular that I have my heart set on, and there are reasons for that. So if you look at the base defense in which Robert Saleh runs, it is a true 4-3, something that the Titans have not run in 13 years. The Titans have been a base 3-4 team for the last, 13 years. And something that they don't have a lot of, which really, I mean, if we're being honest, the Titans just need good football players. But something that they really need in order to run that scheme is edge rushers. And that's something that they're an area in which they're very thin. So I'm looking through the prospects, and I'm going to continue to do more homework on this. But there are two guys that really stick out to me, and really this has been the debate between everybody. It's Ruben Bain, edge from Miami, and
Really
David,
like
the edge from Texas Tech, both of which are, in my mind, slam dunk top 10 picks. And then also you have this guy, Arvell Reese from Ohio State, that's kind of been thrown around in the mix as well. Most mock drafts I've seen have Arvell Reese going in the top 3 picks. So there is a chance that he's not available by the time the Titans get up on the board at number 4. But Kelly, I have my heart set on one guy, and I've been watching him since his freshman year at Miami, and that is Ruben Bain. I believe Ruben Bain and David Bailey are pretty neck and neck when it comes to prospects, but what gave the tiebreaker to me in favor of Ruben Bain was simply watching him in the college football playoff. He had 3 sacks versus Texas A&M. He was everywhere throughout the Hurricanes run all the way to the national title game. So watching Ruben Bain, I don't care about the hand size. I don't care about the arm length. Is he a good football player, and can he play football? And the answer is without a doubt, yes, he can. So when the Titans get up to draft at number 4, I'm going to assume that Arvell Reese is going to be off the board by the time they pick. And I really want a true edge rusher. I don't think the Titans have drafted one in the first round since Derek Morgan, maybe? So
maybe, yeah.
It's time. It's time to draft an edge rusher in the first round. And that right there is why I want Ruben Bain.
I think that's, obviously that's a need for the Tennessee Titans. They need a rusher. They haven't been able to get pressure the last couple of years at all. I mean, it's not the Javon Curse days where, he was kind of freakish and he was able to do that consistently. They just hadn't had that. I was surprised, in Miami that, they look at all this stuff and I don't. I'm kind of like you. A football player is a football player, but they look at all these measurables and all this. I don't know if Ruben Bain's got all the measurables that they like. I don't care. That dude is a football player. So is a David Bailey kid from Texas Tech. He's really good too. But if it's me, I'm like you. I like the Bain kid myself. Just watching him, he harassed Fernando Mendoza that whole night. They couldn't block those guys. They especially couldn't block him. So I can see where you're going. I like your argument there. I think they need an edge rusher, but I'm also, and you are too. We're both quarterbacks. So I think if there's an offensive tackle, what are you going to do in free agency? Are you going to, they've got a lot of money to spend. We understand that. But I think it depends on what they're going to do in free agency. If they think they can go out and get, an edge rusher like a Joey Bosa or, a Khalil Mack, an older guy. Now they may be too old. I don't know. You gotta, factor in all that. But if there's an offensive tackle that's a young guy, and he's a left tackle, man, it's hard to pass that up for me as a quarterback. It really is. When you think that, and I hope they do, I think that they think they've got the right guy with Cam Ward, and he could be a guy that could be the centerpiece for this organization for a while. You got to be able to protect him to the backside. I know they got the Moore guy from last year, but he allowed the most sacks 2 years ago with the Pittsburgh Steelers at left tackle. But that's kind of where I am. They need a rush. They need an edge rusher. I think they need a cornerback as well. I think they need a number 1 wide receiver. But I'm always partial to getting offensive tackles because they're few and far between. You can get defensive tackles all you want to. They're a dime a dozen, and that's what. When I was in Cleveland, that's what the coaching, not the coaching staff, but that's what the guy that was in charge and the personnel people couldn't understand. They always go after these defensive tackles. And, like, when you have an offensive tackle that is really good, and I don't know if there's a can't miss thing ever in the draft. They say he's a can't miss, but, like, when you have the opportunity to draft a tackle, they're so specific, and it could be a staple for your organization for a long time. It's hard for me to pass that up, Parker.
Here's the thing, though. Francis Mauigoa from Miami,
Right? Correct.
is probably going to be the first tackle off the board if I had to guess.
Right.
And Spencer Fano from Utah, which, to be honest, if you feel that one of these guys is going to be the next Trent Williams, and you are so convicted on that, you take him. That was my argument for Cam Ward. If you believe that this is your quarterback of the future, you believe that, then you take him. And if it doesn't work out, you're not going to work out. But if you believe that it is, you take him. So that's why I was fine. I had no problems with the Cam Ward pick. Here's my thing, though, with the Tennessee Titans. You can get out of the Dan Moore deal because it was originally a 4-year deal, but it's clean cut after 2. So you could part ways with Dan Moore if you wanted to. J.C. Latham's sticking at right tackle. The thing with Francis Mauigoa is he primarily played right tackle in college. And I don't know if I want to try the experiment of moving a right tackle back to left tackle. Who knows? So
they did that with J.C. Latham, and it didn't work out, and they put him back to right tackle. So I'm kind of with you. I'm more of, you would like to get them at their position. Now, I don't know. Maybe you can but, the J.C. Latham deal didn't work out because they tried him over there at left tackle. They put him back where he was more comfortable at right tackle. And that's something to be said. When you've played at a certain position your whole life, and it's, now you've got to do opposite of what you've always done. It takes some time to get used to that. And some guys aren't mentally ready or athletic enough to do that. So they switch J.C. Latham back. But I just think that if you've got a true left tackle, and you've got a right-handed quarterback, I just think that you have to take that if that's on the board for you, and you like him. Now, you got to like him, obviously, and once again, I don't think there's not a can't-miss guy. I don't know, everybody says, well, he's a can't-miss guy. Well, you never know what's going to happen to a guy. He might have had a great college career, but when he comes into the pros, I mean, it's a different game. You might be hurt. There's not a can't miss guy, I don't think. I hate that expression, but I just think that if there's a left tackle on the board that is young, that you can mold into what you want, and he's good and he's athletic and he's big, I just think that it's hard for me as a quarterback to pass that up.
And two, the Titans have spent so many first-round picks on offensive linemen, whether that's, J.C. Latham or Peter Skoronski or even Isaiah Wilson, a guy that just did not work out. I think it's time. And it's true, the last edge rusher taken by the Titans was Derek Morgan in 2010 from Georgia Tech. So it's been a while. And I think, and just because you hire Robert Saleh, a defensive mind, doesn't mean you're going to take a defensive guy. But that's where I'm leaning right now, because the offensive line at least showed some improvement last year. You bring in a guy,
he got better.
Carmen Bursillo, who was in New York with Brian Dable. I think that, and again, this is just a hunch, I think he can help take this offensive line to another level, not meaning that they're going to be elite by any measures, but they can be better than they were last year. So I'm leaning edge rusher because we've seen this in the Super Bowl the last 2 years. Defenses, right? Great defensive line in Seattle. Great defensive line 2 years ago in Philly. That's what helped them win the football game. And I just believe, and Kelly, the Titans need they have a lot of different needs. So we could go a bunch of different ways with this. But when I'm looking at best available, for me, it's Reuben Bain.
And that's what a lot of people do, Parker, when it comes to that first pick. A lot of people do needs, but a lot of people do what's the best on the draft board. And I don't think you can go wrong with Ruben Bain. I really don't, because I just watching him, we when you're down here, you watch a lot of SEC, I watch MTSU stuff because I was alumni there, but you don't see much of the ACC, and you didn't see much of Miami last year. I didn't. But watching him play, man, he's got one of those motors. He's strong. He's quick. He's violent. I don't think you could go wrong with that. I really don't. And that's what the Titans have not been able to get pressure on the passer. Like, you would love to be able to do what the Seattle Seahawks did the other day. Now there were a couple of blitz packages that they had that they brought more than 4 guys, but when you can line down and when you can rush the passer with 4 guys and make the quarterback uncomfortable with just 4 guys, and you can put 7 into coverage, that helps the team. I can remember the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I've said this before, when they had Warren Sapp and they had Simeon Rice and they had all those guys that, they played 4-3, a cover 2, and they called it Tampa 2, which was a 4-3 swim, cover 2, and you run the linebacker down the middle of the field. But they didn't have to. I mean, Lane Kiffin's dad, Monty Kiffin, didn't bring anybody. He didn't have to, because he could get pressure with the up front 4 guys, and if you can do that, that makes it a whole lot easier on a defensive coordinator. And they ran the same thing every time. And his whole key was, I don't think an offense can do a 16-play, 17-play drive without making a mistake. And when they make a mistake, we're going to pounce on it. That's how he played the game. And that's the way a lot of the coordinators want to play. But if you can get one of these 2 guys, the Bailey kid from Texas Tech, or if you can get Ruben Bain, I mean, that's what this game is about. It's about protecting the quarterback, and it's about getting those guys on the edge that can rush the quarterback and putting some pressure on him. And I'm good either way, Parker. They've got a lot of needs, but I think, a tackle and I think an edge rusher are their 2 biggest.
And 2, you think about all the players in the secondary that the Titans either traded away during the season or not going to bring back, like L'Jarius Sneed, a perfect example, a guy that will not he's not going to be on the roster next year. Right. The guys that you traded, right? All the injuries that you had in the secondary. Xavier Woods, a safety. I don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. Now, I know originally he signed that 2-year deal, but I don't know if it's going to work in Saleh's system or not. So we'll have to see what happens there. A hunch, I don't think he'll be back on the roster next year. So, but when you have a good defensive line, and you think about, your 2 interior guys that you feel comfortable with, and Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat getting after the passer. And then if they decide to bring Sebastian Joseph Day back, which I would absolutely do, but who are the guys going to be on the edge? Do you feel comfortable running Jalen Harrell out there? Do you feel comfortable running Jihad Ward out there? Because, I thought they were fine, but I hope they're not going to be my starting edges. So that's why I want Ruben Bain. And Kelly, that if you're able to get after the passer, the quicker you're able to get out after the passer, the secondary doesn't have to cover as long. And the secondary has been a weak spot.
It makes everything work better when you can make that quarterback think that it's just like what happened in the Super Bowl with Drake May. I mean, everybody keeps saying, well, he's seeing ghosts, but he was seeing ghosts for a reason, because they couldn't block those guys up front, and that has an effect on the game. You see what it had in the Super Bowl. So your corners, you want great players, but when you've got great up front people, your corners don't have to cover as much. Your safeties can get deep. Don't let anybody get over their head. It just has a whole effect on the defense when you got guys that can rush. And you talked about Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. You got 2 guys in the middle there that can control things. Jeffrey Simmons has been doing it for a long time, and he can get pressure, from the inside. You normally think about the inside guys as stopping the run, but he can get pressure too up the middle with his quickness and his size. And he's kind of been a staple for the Titans for a while now, and he's the most known guy on the team. But if you can get one of those guys on the edge, you can draft that is one of them guys is kind of an unblockable guy, and you got those 2 guys in the middle. Yeah, now your defense has changed, and you don't have to have the greatest in the secondary, because that's going to help everything.
So Ruben Bain and David Bailey are, I believe this is Mel Kiper who ranked these prospects on ESPN. Arvell Reese is the second overall prospect, this guy that you're seeing on your screen. So, again, I think that he's going to be gone by the time the Titans pick at 4. Reuben Bain is number 6, and David Bailey is number 4. So, again, it's almost like splitting hairs when it comes to, these guys. David Bailey, Reuben Bain.
And when they're that close, Parker, when they're that close, people get into meetings with each of the guys, and then it's just a comfort thing. Does your staff, are they more comfortable with, the Bailey kid, or are they more comfortable with the Bain kid? Because they're so close in what they do, and you're going to get a good player either way, but what do you think? There's something that kind of differentiates these guys that make the decisions in the front office. Hey, I like this guy's personality a little bit more than this one, or I like this guy's awareness when it comes to something, or I like his focus when he's in me. There's something there when it gets that close. So I don't think you're going to get a bad player either way, because if you watch those guys, you always want to see on tape guys don't take plays off, and I don't think those guys take plays off, and that shows the competitiveness of those guys. But there's always something that differentiates when they're that close.
And I will not be in those meetings, so the Titans brass will have the Titans brass will have much more information on that than I will. I wouldn't be upset either way. Now, right now on February 12th, I want Reuben Bain, but if it comes down to, will they take David Bailey, I'm like, okay, he's a great prospect as well. I'd be comfortable with any of these guys. I'm just If it were down to these 3, I'm taking Reuben Bain, but that's just me. And then I've also seen too, this guy, Carnell Tate, being selected by the Titans, which the Titans do need a receiver. I'm just not comfortable taking one at 4. And your receivers, your top receiver prospects are Jordan Tyson. He's number 1. This is all according to ESPN. Carnell Tate is number 2. Mekhi Lemon, who's my personal favorite, it's probably going to be my draft crush, is number 3. But I believe those guys warrant maybe a 8, pick 8 or back selection. But now here's the other thing too that we have to factor into all this. There could be, there are a lot of QB needy teams this year, and I'd say there are more QB needy teams than there are QB ready prospects. You look at your quarterbacks. Dante Moore coming back to school was obviously a huge factor into all of this, but it's Fernando Mendoza, who probably going to be the number 1 overall pick. You have Ty Simpson, Carson Beck, Trinidad Chambliss. Chambliss, we still got to figure out what's going on with him in Ole Miss. Carson Beck's not going to be drafted in the first round. Ty Simpson probably will, but would you want to take him before, within the top 3 picks? I don't know. That seems like a bit of a stretch. So I don't know what the trade back options would look like for the Titans at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm not sure with that. If you could get a boatload of picks, I don't know. But I just think that if you got the guy that you want, if you got like a Reuben Bain, or if you got the left tackle from Miami, or the whoever he is, the right tackle. I know he's a right tackle, but still, if you've got something there that you want, you got to take. I just don't think, this is me personally, I don't think that you take a receiver that high unless you're loaded at every position. If you're loaded at every position and that's what you need, yes, absolutely. If you've got a, and you look at free agency, and I know he's kind of I don't know, George Pickens, man. He's at Dallas, but he's the number 1 free agent on the board.
Well, they're going to franchise tag him. So,
well, maybe, probably. I don't know, or and somebody's going to have to buck up if they want him, which that's not going to happen. But if you've got a guy like that, I just don't see how for me. When you're taking top picks, man, it used to be running backs back in the day. Running backs aren't like that anymore because the game has changed. And if you get a receiver that is a can't-miss receiver, but in order for me, if I'm a front office guy and I'm going to take a receiver, my team has got to be loaded at every other spot or I'm not doing it. I mean, that's why you get edge rusher, you get quarterbacks, you get edge rushers, you get corners, and you get linebackers are not even like that. But I don't know. You talked about the Caleb Downs deal. They say he's a really unbelievably great football player. And I know that the guy that was at New England, that was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, said he was one of the smartest football players he's ever been around. And he started at Alabama, and then he went, he started with Nick Saban, and then he went to Ohio State, and Nick Saban said kind of the same thing. Maybe he's one of those guys, but I just don't see. Somebody's going to draft him, obviously, in the first round because he's a really good player, but that's just like a receiver spot to me. Like at a safety, he's not a, you've got to be set at every other position to draft a safety. And I just don't think that the Tennessee Titans, I don't see them doing that. But I don't know. I'm not in those rooms.
Yeah, and I've heard, Jeremiah Love thrown around as well, the running back from Notre Dame. And look, I believe he's going to be an impact player once he gets the NFL. I'd love to have him on the Titans, but where he's projected to go right now, he's the third overall best prospect, according to Mel Kiper. That's a luxury pick right now for the Titans. And I believe that, if you're going to bring Tony Pollard back, he's still very good. You could even get, a guy like Breece Hall in free agency. That's an option. And Kenneth Walker's set to be a free agent. I believe that Seattle's going to bring him back because why would you not? So you have all these different luxury picks, but you got to think about your needs. And the Titans just need a lot of good football players, specifically at the edge rusher. So we're going to open up the phones. Let us know what you think at 615-759-9949. Again, the phone lines are open, 615-759-9949. Let us know who you want the Titans to draft at number 4. Is it Reuben Bain? Is it David Bailey? Is it someone else? Let us know. We'll talk to you on the other side of the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
Sports and Social at Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a race and sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Here's Officer Darren Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show, continuing our conversation about who we think the Titans should draft at number 4 overall. The phone lines are open at 615-759-9949. When we called for callers the first time yesterday, nobody called in. And then all of a sudden I mentioned the phone lines again and we get like 5. So hoping that happens again today. So in the meantime, I guess we'll just continue our conversation. We do have some comments in the YouTube chat. RV Hack Lab wants Carnell Tate at number 4. Now, I love Carnell Tate. I do. It's hard to go wrong with an Ohio State receiver. But at number 4, that is a luxury pick. The Titans are not talented enough for luxury picks right now. It's kind of the same debate we were having with a Jeremiah Love or kind of any of these skill, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon. I think Mekhi Lemon, if you were able to trade back and get him, later in the first round, I would love that. I think Mekhi Lemon is probably my favorite out of all these prospects. So that's just a luxury pick that the Titans don't have.
Let me ask you this, Parker. If Jeremiah Smith was coming out this year, another Ohio State wide receiver, what do you think about that there, big dog?
You're about to try.
I mean,
that's not
Carnell Tate now. I mean, Carnell Tate's a good player, but he's not Jeremiah Smith. And I'm still I'm still not doing it unless I'm totally set at every other position and I feel good about everything. But Jeremiah Smith is one of those guys that can definitely, he's a game changer. So what would you do if Jeremiah Smith was coming out this year?
Now, clearly this is a hypothetical. Jeremiah Smith is one of those unicorns. You could have made the case that as a true freshman last year, he would have been the number 1 overall pick. So,
oh, absolutely.
I honestly, I would do it. I would do it because I think Jeremiah Smith is generational. So I don't think he's generational.
I don't either, but he's one of those guys that when it comes up on the board, I talked about some teams take the best player on the board. They don't matter. It doesn't matter to them about their need. But if that guy's up on the board, a lot of people take Jeremiah Smith because he is kind of a unicorn, man. That's
the next year problem.
He can run. He can run. He can run routes. He'll go up. He's competitive. He'll go up and get the ball. He's a game changer. He's got strong hands. He can make catches in traffic. Yeah, he's one of those guys.
And I'm very interested, but that's a next year problem. Jordan Tyson, I don't believe is generational. Really any of these guys, I don't see that generational type player, at least in the receiver room. I believe it's a deep draft because you still have your Denzel Bostons, your Chris Bells, your Jeremy Bernards, those type of guys. So Charlie on line 1, Charlie has some thoughts on the NFL draft and what the Titans should do it for. Charlie, what's going on?
Hey, Parker. Hey, Kelly. First of all, enjoying listening to the show and really glad you guys are kind of talking a little about the NFL draft, especially with football kind of being out of our minds and out of our lives for a little bit. It's good to kind of hear some draft talk. But, I got to ask you guys, talking about the Titans and the trade back and there maybe not being a generational prospect, the biggest thing that they need, obviously, is an edge rusher. You guys have talked about them not really having the luxury for a pick for a skill position like a Love or a Tate, but how do you think that they balance best player available and what they might need the most to fill the need? I'll hang up and listen, but thank you guys, and I appreciate y'all.
Kelly, you want to take it?
I mean, that's a good question, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard sometimes for people to pass that up, even though you have needs. Like if there's a generational guy there, or if there's the best player on the board that drops to you that you think is the best player on the board. I mean, I don't know. You may have to take him. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not in that room. But like we just talked about a guy like a Jeremiah Smith. If there's a guy on the board like that you like, he truly probably is a generational talent, a unicorn, a can't miss guy, which I talked about. I don't like the can't miss cliche, but he's one of those guys because you don't know how injuries and you don't know how things are going to affect him. But, like, I think if there's a guy on the board like that, I mean, it takes a team. You really have to think about that.
Just who would that be, though?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's that guy on this year's draft. I don't know if there's is there that guy on this year's draft like that? And here's another thing I'm going to ask you, Parker. Talk about our position. I mean, Francisco Mendoza. To me,
who's Francisco? I only know Fernando.
Fernando, not Francisco, but Fernando. Good gracious, Fernando.
Careful, Kelly. You may get canceled.
I know Fernando is. He's like the only guy that I can see. I don't think about anybody else. Like, this is in my opinion, this is a very weak quarterback draft. Is it not to you?
Oh yeah. Ty Simpson to me is at best mid first round.
I don't think he's a mid first rounder.
I think right, because there are so many things that he struggled with that now the NFL arm talent's there, but there were so many things that I felt like one more year in college and he really could have improved on those things, but it was a tough situation.
That's why we talked about Dante Moore, man. I think he made the right decision to coming back. I think Ty Simpson should have come back, man. I really do. I don't think he had enough playing time. I've seen some where he's not even in the first round mock draft. So I just think Fernando Mendoza is kind of the guy. I think he was schooled well while he was at Indiana for last year. I think he was coached up. I think he's ready for it. I think he's got the talent for it. I think he's got the arm talent for it. But other than that, like, I don't know who you go to if you're looking at the rest of the quarterbacks. I really don't.
This could be one of those years where if you don't draft one, you could probably reach for one in free agency. I'm sure Malik Willis is going to be a hot name. And these are all topics that we're going to tackle as we continue to, go throughout the spring, the summer. We'll talk about all of it, but we got to head to the break. Got the college basketball insiders coming on. Talk a little college basketball because one of the greatest times of year is coming up next month. We'll chat about all things college basketball with the insiders. This is the George Plaster Show.
Extraordinary homes deserve remarkable appliances. At Electronic Express, we bring the best luxury appliance brands together, all in one place. From sleek refrigerators to state-of-the-art ranges and premium dishwashers, our expert team is here to help you make your home exceptional with fast delivery and professional installation. Experience luxury made easy at Electronic Express and create a home that truly inspires.
Green Ventures Landscaping works with property managers and business owners who need professional landscaping without the headaches, consistent crews, clear communication, clean, polished results that show your property is properly managed. Green Ventures Landscaping keeps commercial properties looking sharp year-round, from weekly maintenance and seasonal cleanups. If you manage it, we maintain it. Green Ventures Landscaping. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com, your full-service landscaping and hardscaping company serving Middle Tennessee.
Nashville. For the first time ever, TNA Wrestling comes to the pinnacle with back-to-back nights of total non-stop action. Are you kidding? On February 13th, the action kicks off with No Surrender. I'm here to be the best. Plus, on February 14th, the action continues with Impact. The entire world is watching. It's a can't-miss weekend of total non-stop action. Live at the Pinnacle. Tickets on sale now at TNAWrestling.com.
In case you missed Chase and Big Joe.
Yeah, good players. Let's do a teams meeting later on, and we'll talk about the Zoom. Nick, you good with that?
Absolutely.
Are you in the bathroom? What's going on over there, man? No, he's reviewing this goal.
Chase and Big Joe, weekdays at noon. Your sports live here on 102.5 The Game.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online today. That's tn.hughston.com.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. High temperatures in the low 50s and partly cloudy today. Overnight will stay dry as well, dropping down to the mid 30s with a push back up to 62 degrees for tomorrow.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, the best training and training the best.
Safari Club International's convention isn't for everyone, and that's the point. It's the center of the hunting universe. February 18th through the 21st, Safari Club International's convention takes over Nashville's Music City Center with thousands of outfitters, premium gear, live high-stakes auctions, and conservation that actually backs the lifestyle. If you're built different, Safari Club International's convention is where your people are. Register now at safariclub.org and use TN Hunters 10 for 10% off registration.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Time for our stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. Here we go. Miami, Ohio has the number one scoring offense in the nation. Which team is number 2 on that list? Hint, it's a Power 4 team.
Which team is number 2 on that list? Hint, it's a Power 4 team. Gosh. Who was the team that was scoring the – talked about it the other day. No. You're talking Belmont. That's who you were talking. I would have no – you know, this is out of my league here, but golly. I mean, would it be Arizona? Somebody like that, Arizona. Give me another hint.
Think about a team that was involved in a very controversial conversation.
Alabama. Is that the is that? There we go.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Parker. That's awesome.
0.9 points per game. I believe it was Griff who told me that they are leading the nation in 3-pointers attempted per game. So
they've been able to score the last. I mean, since Nate Oates has been there, man. I mean, that's what his deal is. He's gonna tell them guys to let it fly. You know,
right? Fun offense to watch, but you live and die by the 3, and it can get you in trouble. And it has several points this year. As Alabama has 7 losses, I think they're projected to be a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. We're working on getting Lee Fowler on the line. Doubt that we're going to have Ron Bargatze again this week. He just called me and said that he was in Florida, so our producer needs to call him. And then he called me right back, and I can't answer because we were doing stat of the day. And then our producer called him, and he didn't answer. Went straight to voicemail. So
That
Brando,
is
back to the
correct.
station and try calling him one more time. It's fun, since I've been in charge of lining up the guests the last 3 weeks. It is fun trying to corral everybody, but I've learned that trying to corral Ron Bargatze and Lee Fowler at the same time is pretty impossible. So, I'm told that we have Lee now. So, we welcome in Lee Fowler. Lee, are you enjoying the warm weather down in Florida?
Well, I am. It's, quite warm here. We're in Destin, Florida, and just kind of looking out over the Gulf of America, and things are wonderful. It's about 69 degrees a day and sunny.
I love
Any
it, Lee. Gulf
particular
of
reason
America,
you're down
baby.
there, or just hanging out?
That's right.
Well, when you got all the money that Lee has, man, he's got houses all over the country,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Actually, it's past me, Kelly. My youngest daughter, Carly, who lives in Mount Juliet, it's her place, and I'm actually keeping a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. My wife and I. That was quite a sight. Going to lunch today with the two of us and the two of them, and so she's renovating the condo, and we're living through it. They're putting carpet in our bedrooms today, so it's I would call it roughing it today, but tomorrow will be much nicer.
Nice. There you go.
You're a true soldier, Lee. So I have a funny story to tell you. It's not funny, but it's at the same time it is, because on Monday I've been in charge of making the bets of the day at the end of the show since George has been out. And on Monday, Louisville and NC State played from the KFC Yum Center. I said that I thought NC State would cover the 6.5, and they got beat by 41. And I on our Tuesday show, I made a whole segment out of it. Just, I watched that game. My heart was ripped out of my chest, and I just had to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, well, they didn't play very well, and Louisville played really well. Louisville, one of the players got 45. He shot it from everywhere. He looked like I think he was embodied by Seth Curry, because he made unbelievable shots, and to get 45. So it's one of those games. It's kind of like everybody's having a game where they don't show up or the other team really plays well. Like Vandy in Oklahoma. Oklahoma was, it ended up a 1-point game, but it was much worse than that. But, you have to give them credit that they came back and almost had a chance to win it. But yeah, it's a different world this year in college athletics, and there are 4 or 5 teams that are really good, and the rest of them kind of can be really good or be kind of so-so.
Mikel Brown is the guy you're referring to, had 45 points, I think, against NC State on Monday night. And that just kind of continues the theme of really good true freshmen this year in college basketball. Another one of those freshmen is Darren Peterson, who he did not play for Kansas on Monday night against Arizona. Didn't matter. They still beat at the time, one of the 2 undefeated teams in the country, gave them their first loss on the season. And we've been talking about Darren Peterson, Lee. There was a quote from an anonymous GM to Joe Tipton of On3 that said, is it really worth it to pay a guy $3 million who is going to miss half the year versus paying, 3 guys $1 million each if they're going to be bought in for the full season? That just kind of continues the conversation that we've been having on the show. Does Darren Peterson missing this much time give you any concern?
Well, I think it's always the case if you've got one great player and he has a sprained ankle or whatever happens to him. I saw something today or yesterday that Caleb Wilson has got a fractured bone in his left hand, so he's not going to play for Carolina. So they're a completely different team without him. So they may have trouble beating Pitt tomorrow at home. So, it's no question that when the great ones get hurt, it really takes down the team, and it's always been that way. But now there's the money, there's a salary cap put on each player, so kind of what kind of money they're making to have this one great year.
And two, Bill Self, I made this point on the show yesterday. Bill Self has basically had to coach 2 different teams, one without Darren Peterson and one with. And I think it's really funny because 2 of Kansas's biggest wins on the year, Arizona and Tennessee, both came without Darren Peterson. And to be honest, it's ironic. They look better without Darren Peterson.
Well, I think if the guy has the ball in his hand a lot, it can hurt the overall team. But if he's so talented that he can score 2/3 of the time at least with the ball, it's kind of tough to take it out of his hand. But some teams are pretty good, and Kansas is. I mean, I was fortunate enough once to coach a team that went into Kansas and won at Fall Allen, but they don't lose there much, so they have a heck of a home court advantage. And Bill Self has always been a great coach. I think, truthfully, Bill was much better when he, wasn't at Kansas and was just coaching everyday guys. He's one of those special guys, kind of like Izzo, and those guys that can just coach them up and have them prepared and knows what the other team, even if they're really talented, he knows what they don't like and can't do real well. And he's always been able to really do a good job against the team, especially at home.
Lots of comments made recently from coaches, whether that's Kim Caldwell with the Lady Vols talking about the team quitting on her, or, most recently, last night, Kansas State lost, and their head coach, Jerome Tang, had some strong comments about how these guys don't deserve to be in Manhattan, Kansas, playing for the Wildcats just because they don't have any fight in them. Is that just kind of a sign of the times with some of these guys? Not to say that everybody's that way, but it sure seems to be a problem in college athletics.
Well, I think they all go through games that seem like the kids don't care. And truthfully, I'm not sure. When I went to Vanderbilt, I've been watching them for 20 years play and listening on radio when they weren't on TV. And, I love Vanderbilt. And you don't have many kids doing that nowadays because they're going, and you can't blame them, but they're going to places that they didn't grow up, loving and wanting to go there, and they're going for the money. And that takes a little bit out of it. You look at some NBA and NFL teams who have a lot of talent, but it's hard to get a game to win. So I think the money has added a lot of that, and I don't know that they care as much. There's not as much loyalty to the program as there once was, and I think that hurts in a way. And then, of course, Vanderbilt's probably more talented than they've ever been 2 years in a row. So I guess both ways you can look at it as good, but unfortunately, you do have games where the fans wonder about what's going on. I mean, they don't seem like they care less. So, I think that has a lot to do with not having them 2, 3, 4 years, not coming up through the program and really buying in and being part of the program. They're kind of doing it in a 1-year deal, and that creates that.
So sticking with, the SEC, I was looking at the latest bracketology that was released on Tuesday, and Missouri was one of those teams that I think they were in the next 4 out, which I didn't understand because Missouri's a pretty good team. They just got a win last night versus Texas A&M in College Station. So obviously this is going to be a moot point if they continue to get wins like that. But what have you made of Missouri this year?
Yeah, I thought early on they were going to be really good. I saw a game against a Big 12 team or somebody early, and they really looked really good. And then they kind of, it can happen to you. And, I think I was watching the UCLA coach talk about, he had 5 out of 7 on the road in the Big 10 this year. And that has a lot to do with wins and losses and your overall conference record. And I'm sure at Texas A&M, that's happened to them. They had games they could win and they won them, which is a good thing. And now they're playing teams that are better or at least as good as them, and they're struggling a little bit with that. So I think it has a lot to do with when you play them, where you playing them, and of course injuries also matter a lot.
With Texas A&M and the buckyball system that he runs, I showed Kelly the stat about Alabama, how they're the second highest scoring team in the nation. And I don't know if I asked you this already last week, but do you think that type of offense is sustainable for long-term success in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I think it is. I just think that, when you do it that way, you got to shoot the ball well. And some teams early on are going to play you and help out and do what you normally do. And then some teams are going to say, we can't let them shoot open threes. We got to make them try to score inside. So all of a sudden they're not helping from the off wing, and they're staying with their guys, and guys aren't making wide open threes because they're not getting wide open threes. So a lot of that has to do with you shooting, and a lot of that has to do with if people that watch college basketball or pro or any other, if they knew how sophisticated the scouting things that you have nowadays to know what a team does when they're going on the left side of the road, the left side of the court, and pass it to the corner, what 80% of the time they're going to do. I mean, it's amazing how much time coaches and their staff spend on familiarity with what people like to do. And by the middle of the year, especially middle of the conference, which is kind of where we are, just passing that, people know exactly what you're going to do. And if you haven't changed some things you're doing in your offense and on your defense, then you're going to lose a couple games that you probably wouldn't have earlier because people know exactly what you're doing throughout the game.
Now I want to transition to the Big Ten because on Tuesday night, we saw a lot of great action in that conference, whether it was Nebraska and Purdue pulling one out in overtime versus the Cornhuskers, and then Wisconsin, who it seems like on any given night can beat anybody, and then they can also lose to a team in the bottom of the conference. Do you think the Big Ten is kind of similar to how the SEC was last year, where teams are just beating up on each other throughout the course of the week?
Well, I think all the leagues are doing that, but a couple of the teams you mentioned, Wisconsin's a really good shooting team. If they get open shots, they can beat anybody because they're going to make a lot of open shots and shoot free throws real well. Purdue, I mean, that showed me a lot about Nebraska, that it took overtime for even though they were at home for them to beat the Purdue team. And I think Purdue's one of the top 7 or 8 teams in the country and could win it all. They're probably not going to be favored to, but they're good enough to. And so that even though they lost in overtime, I think that showed me about as much of how good Nebraska really is as some of the wins that they've had.
So is Nebraska, we talk about all the time how they haven't won an NCAA tournament game. Do you see this team being able to make a really deep run come tournament time?
I think unless they lose some games, they wouldn't want to be in one of those 11 against 11 games in Dayton. Hopefully they'll get in the tournament and play a lesser team the first game. Yeah, I think they can be a Sweet 16 team. I think they've been together a long time. They like each other. They play hard together. And I think Nebraska definitely is a team that can make it to Sweet 16.
Any further than that?
I think maybe a long shot. I think the pressure might get to them. I tell you, as many tournaments as I've been to 44 tournaments, and the big thing when I worked the tournament for 6 years, the gap between Sweet 16 and the regional is really different, and not a lot of teams handle that well unless they've been doing a lot, like Carolina and Duke, and teams expecting to be there. So it's really hard to make if they've never won a game, and now if they win a game and win a second game, that's 5 or 6 days to get to the regional tournament, and living with that and hearing everybody pat on the back, that's a tough game, I think, for them to play because they'll be playing somebody as good or better than them in that game.
So you brought up Caleb Wilson earlier, how he had the fracture in his hand. They lost to Miami on Tuesday night after coming off their big win against Duke. One, I guess this is a two-parter question for you. One, how good can North Carolina be without Caleb Wilson? I know that's a really tall task. And secondly, why aren't we talking about Miami more?
Yeah, I think Miami's a lot better than people think they are, and I think they're playing. They haven't played together very long either. Their coach retired last year, middle of the year or late in the year, and I think that they're better than people think. I mean, they've won. I think they're 19-5 or something, 18-5. So they've got a heck of a team, and playing at home, I saw where they rushed the court. I watched the end of it, and it was kind of a half effort of rushing the court. It's like 2 or 3 came on, then 7 or 8, and then another 10, and then I mean it took them a little bit to I don't know if they couldn't get by people or weren't that excited, but finally it filled up. But it was one of those slow rush the court, so I'm sure nobody was in danger in that rushing of the court.
We saw was it 2 court stormings in the North Carolina Duke game because they put some time back on the clock. But I was watching that the end of, I watched the whole, Tobacco Road rivalry, but when they stormed the court, I'm thinking to myself, like, you're North Carolina. Do you storm the court for anybody, even if it's Duke?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a big game, and there's a lot of up and downs in North Carolina when they play good and to play bad. The week before that, I did one of your predictions. I said there's no way they could beat Duke, and I still think that was a better statement than them ending up winning that 3-pointer from the corner. But I think that they were really happy to have that big a win. And of course, doesn't surprise me with Miami as good as they are to beat them the next game. But the Pitt game without Caleb Wilson will be huge for them. So that, being at home, they should beat Pitt. But I've watched Pitt play 3 times. I mean, they're just like their coach. They play hard and get after you, and you got to show up if you're going to beat them.
Right. They gave Duke trouble the other night, and this will be my last one. Florida's beat their last 4 opponents by an average of 29 points per game. So they're getting really hot. Do you see this Florida team being able to repeat?
I don't know about repeat. That's a hard, but they're definitely playing their best basketball right now, and they're really good. I've always thought after they came back and started playing well that they were one of the top 6 or 7 teams in the country, which means you got a chance to get there. Once again, they've been there, and being there makes a big difference because you're used to travel, you're used to, what you're going to do at the sites, and so it's huge in the NCAA tournament to have been there, and what the officiating is going to be like. It's going to be a lot tougher, and they're going to let things go a little bit more. So I think it'll be they'll have a great chance to get into the Elite 8, and then after that they're playing really good teams, and they'll have to play well.
We're going to continue our conversation with Lee Fowler, one of 2 college basketball insiders. Kelly Holcomb will take the entire second segment with Lee. We'll continue on the other side of this commercial break. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Are you looking for expert medical care in Nashville without leaving your home? Medical House Calls brings concierge-level health care directly to your door. Whether you need urgent attention, ongoing primary care, revitalizing IV therapy, or medically guided weight loss, our experienced providers are just a phone call away at 615-838-2375 or go online, medicalhousecalls.com. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
ESPN Radio lives here. Your sports live here on ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
Continuing our conversation with college basketball insider Lee Fowler. Kelly, take it away.
So Lee, we got to talk about this, man. What they made the decision with the kid at Alabama, and what does the NCAA do with him now? And if you're a coach, that played them and they used him, it's kind of like having an illegal player. Do you try to get a forfeit from that deal or a win on your schedule? How does that work? And then, the second part of that question is, what happens with the NCAA tournament now? I mean, if you have to forfeit those games, what does that mean for Alabama in the NCAA tournament?
Knowing what the NCAA's done in the past is that was a judge that ruled that, and they're not going to go back against the judge, even though they said it was illegal. So I'm guessing here, but I think, I'd be frustrated if I was one of the teams that they lost to. But also, I think that since it was legal for them to play in the court system, that they'll have trouble going back and forfeiting or making them forfeit and that sort of thing. So I've got a feeling it'll go away quietly and, move along. And I know that I saw one of the coaches, I think it was Texas A&M coach, that was upset about playing them. I think that's who I saw, but it may have been somebody else. But, yeah, I'll be shocked, and it could go the other way where they make them forfeit, but I don't think so because they had a legal standing to let him play, and then that got taken away.
So what do you think that'll do with them in the NCAA tournament? I mean, will that have an effect on them getting in, you think?
Well, I think they'll watch what they do the rest of the year and probably not appreciate that they went ahead and played him. But like I said, legally they can go ahead and play him. And NCAA hadn't won a case, I don't guess, ever with the federal court system. So I think that it'll be up to how the team plays from now on out. I thought he was a good player, but I'm not sure that he helped their team win that many games. But I saw 2 or 3 of the games they played, and he's a good player, and he thought he was good enough playing the pros and wasn't. And there's a reason for that because he's not very talented scorer. He's a jumper and he blocks shots and he only averaged 9 points, I think, and played a lot of minutes. So that's something like you and I would have averaged, and that's what I did average in college, 9 points. And I sure as heck, I don't know how many games I influenced, but I can tell you that he, in other words, he didn't go out and dominate the games he played in. And I think that tells you more about whether it helped Alabama or not. But they'll be watching the rest of the games and see how they fare against good teams.
Do you think that kind of squashes this G League stuff of guys coming back down? Do you think that kind of squashes it from not happening again?
Well, I can understand why the NCAA's playing hardball with that, because it's not so much who has and who hadn't, but they want to make sure guys don't go do it just testing the water, because that really gets you one and done, and then guy can come back. Why not go test the waters? So I think they're very much against that happening. I think they fell on their sword for that in this deal, and because it's always been, if you go and you stay in, you're done, and you understood that, and you knew that, and probably articles were written where you made that statement. I know I can't come back, and then they're trying to come back now because other pros from other leagues are playing now. Stepping back, I don't see a whole lot of difference, but a lot of the European guys go straight from whatever high school level is to some sort of organized pro league and then play over there at a very high level. I think 4 or 5 of the guys that are playing in NCAA right now are playing at the highest level in Europe, and we all know that teams from Europe now are being very competitive with teams here. So, there has to be something resolved about if you make money as a pro playing basketball, you can't come back. But, that's so far away now. We're paying players to come out of high school and high school guys are getting paid to go play for other teams. So, it's such a convoluted situation right now. It's tough to get clarity out of any of it.
And my last thing on this, but like, is the NCAA, you kind of just said it, but is the NCAA trying to get a backbone? Because you see Trinidad Chambliss, they're denying him. Joey Aguilar's got the deal going on in UT, and with whatever happens with Trinidad Chambliss in football, it's probably going to happen to Joey Aguilar. They just denied the Bediako kid. Is this kind of the NCAA trying to get a handle on this stuff?
Well, I think they're getting so much backlash from it. Yeah, I think that's the case, but what amazes me, did you see the statement from the President Baker? He wished Congress would do something about it where they could. I know he's a politician. He was the Republican governor of the state of Massachusetts before he got to be the president of the NCAA. So he's used to legislation solving things, but I'm not so sure that it solves a lot, because if they made some rules and they took it to court and the courts ruled against it, same thing that other NCAA rules have been done, and they don't stand behind it. So yes, I think they're trying to toughen up a little bit, but I'm not so sure they're going to win the case, because Pavia, can you imagine that Pavia, they didn't count his junior college years? I did it for 50 years, and junior college counted like being at a 4-year school. So whatever judge ruled that sure wasn't the way it had been handled. The precedent was not that way. So it's crazy, and it seems like what judge you have decides on whether you have an opportunity to do it or not.
Right. So, y'all talked, and Parker brought this up earlier. He talked about Kim Caldwell and her comments, and then the Jerome Tang guy out in Kansas State. But when you do that as a coach, and we had Tom Izzo, and he talked about the Fears guy a couple of last week, and you had a pretty good explanation for that, which was great. But when you're a coach, and I know you're trying to motivate your team, but when you kind of do that publicly like that, well, what is that? Tell the people out there what that does to the locker room, because I can remember when I had an instance when I was in the NFL, and there was a coach that called, a guy out on the radio, publicly on the radio, and that didn't go over well, and people in the locker room was talking about it. But what does the respect do when that happens, when a coach calls the whole team out and says, you quit on us? What does the respect factor go to that coach?
Yeah, I think that's frustration from the coach. Probably wishes they hadn't said what they said after the fact. And, a lot of that's the coaching staff's supposed to have them ready. And, in the old days, you would have had them ready because you'd had them 2 or 3 years and know how to push the right buttons. But now they don't have that relationship with their team. So it's so crazy that it's hard to figure out, because they are saying things. But, we laughed last year when Tennessee coach said, we're paying him to make shots. He needs to take them and he needs to make them. So there's so much new kind of things that are being said that because of what's going on in college sports, it's hard to figure. But yeah, I saw a lot of the Izzo stuff that we talked about, and Tom is a matter of fact guy. You understand when Tom says something, but the next day he backed off kind of what he said, because he said this kid's done everything right, never had issue with him off the court, in the classroom. So he kind of backed off that and wished probably he hadn't said exactly what he said. And I'm sure Coach Caldwell feels the same way, but you are trying to motivate them. And sometimes you just get so frustrated as a coach, you say things that probably wish you didn't say, but sometimes the team responds to it. If the other kids on the team think that there were 2 or 3 people that are, because they know what's going on back at the hotel room. They know what's going on in the coaching in the locker room. So, that if that's the feeling of the whole team, you got problems, because they sure as heck shouldn't quit. But that seems to be happening more and more, especially when teams get down a pretty good bit. They look like they just kind of say heck with it. And Kelly, is playing sports happens the other way too. How many times did you see guys try to do things after you got ahead a bunch because they felt like they wouldn't get in as much trouble because, we're ahead. Me trying to shoot a hook shot's not going to make a whole lot of difference, but, it isn't what the coach wants, and he gets frustrated with that kind of play. And it happens when you're way ahead or way behind doing things that's outside of where you've worked all week.
Is that, that's the thing about college sports right now that is bothering me. And I said it with the Titans about, the Titans were so bad last year that if they start off good, they're okay. If they start off in the game, they know that it motivates them to maybe win the game until something bad happens. But like you just said it, like, when these kids are losing, they don't have any ties to the school. Everybody's transferring all over the place. Is this going to get worse? Because, my age, your age, we don't like things like that because we know how it was done right. We know how we were brought up. Times were different. We understand that everything changes. But like Parker's generation or the generation, after him, it seems like they've grown up in that and they just know, hey, that's the way it is. But like when the traditional fans like myself and you are used to, following a Middle or following a UT or following a Vanderbilt, and then you have this team that, if they're winning, it's great, but then when they start losing and they start hitting some adversity, they tank it. Fans don't like that. When at some point people are going to get fed up with that garbage?
Well, I mean, you're just pointing out one of the issues a lot of fans have problems with, but yeah, it's the debt that these colleges are going into, especially the state universities where you can get the report at the end of the year. I don't know how it's going to end, but I know one thing. When I was involved in it, we had to balance our budget at NC State and always balanced it. And for people to be 60 and 70 million over has to be approved from above somewhere. And that money is being spent from other areas in the university to take over athletics. And one thing I've always said, trustees of university, it's according to what kind of leadership you have in your trustees, because trustees are men and women who oversee what's good for their university. They usually went there, but not in all cases. And those people are all usually top people in corporations. So they also know. But if a president or a chancellor is saying, well, yes, we've spent that, but we think it's worthwhile. This is, we're doing real well. Well, how many of them around the country of 136 are saying they're doing real well? I mean, so at some point, the numbers are going to get to the point where they want to see results. And it's one thing to be spending a lot, but it's another when it's way more than you're making and will ever make in college athletics. So you're having to fund it from the rest of the university or student fees. And those things have a short shelf life because those people are going to they're going to get after the trustees, and the trustees get after the chancellor, and the chancellor get after the athletic director. So it's a vicious circle that I can't see lasting, because if it does, the universities are going to be hurting in their academic side to be spending money that shouldn't be spent on athletics.
And that brings me to another question. I hate keep bringing this stuff up because, Parker said it yesterday. I hate being negative about it, but like when an athletic department goes into debt that much, there's only so much you can do, because let's face it, universities are businesses and they got to run on, and I've talked about it before, but you look at all these big time programs in football, and the Ohio States and the Alabamas and the UTs and the USCs, they make a profit. But still, there's some Power 4 teams that don't even make a profit in football. And how long can you keep going when you're in a deficit when it comes to money?
Yeah, and you hadn't even brought up Title IX, which is one of the the NCAA was never a good business model because of Title IX. And I love women. My daughters all play college athletics, but you had to support those. Now they've kind of gone away from that. It's about numbers, and you don't have to give them all scholarships. You can, you got so many numbers you can use. So it's not only the football, whether they're making money. If you're spending it all on 4 sports, it's going to be tough to face that tennis team, that bowling team, that soccer team, as the money's drained from those programs to try to make football and basketball do well. And so I think that the day is coming, and it's going to come from all sides. I mean, that's the problem with what's going on right now. And it's not so much negative. I mean, the only reason I mention it, they're starting to show numbers at Rutgers and other schools that are just way over budget. And those people have $90 million coming from their conference to help fund that. But when you start paying players, it's a professional business is what it is. And you've got to run it as a professional business, or you're taking money from somewhere else on the campus.
So my last question, let's get to a basketball question. We talk about this in football, and if you've looked at it over the years, everybody says, well, we have an honest opportunity to win a national championship. But if you look at it, I mean, it's certain teams that got the money that are winning national championships. So in basketball, and you're kind of an expertise on this basketball stuff, but who truly has a shot to win the national championship this year?
I mean, I think there are 5 or 6 teams. And you go back in the history of the tournament, I think 11 seeds won it once. But, I always think what's really important to look at, and this was before all this money is being paid to football and basketball players and all that, look at the teams in the top 25. You can look back 30 years and look at which teams are there, and they're the same teams. So everybody's chasing the best in their conference or the best couple in their conference, but they're, Alabama's won 7 national championships. You look at 40 years, they've, they're one of the few in the league that's won it and won the most. So everybody's chasing the national championship, but Alabama's only done it 6 times with what they spend money on. So yeah, it's what we used to call in the Columbia, Tennessee is a pipe dream for most people to have a chance to win the national championship. But that's what they're selling. And unfortunately now they're selling something that doesn't make financial sense. So that's, it's difference, and it's not negative. It's just where we are. And the question we're all having is where are we going and where it's going to end up.
Going on Kelly's question about national championship contenders, I believe they're about, you can make the case for anywhere between 10 and 13, I'd say, to win the national championship this year. Do you think that's accurate?
I wouldn't think so. I think they're 6 or 7, maybe 8, but not any more than that. If you talk about, you got Duke, you got Arizona, you got maybe Connecticut. I think Connecticut's a chance. You got Florida, and you start Michigan, and then after that you're starting to say, well, there's about 5 or 6 that look the same at that point. So I think through a whole year, I used to laugh at. We'd sit in the committee room with Sam Newton, who was a wonderful man. Matter of fact, his son Martin, who George knows real well, is chair of the committee this year. And we used to sit there and say, well, they're 24-2, but I don't think they're that good. And I said, well, 24-2, there's nobody else 24-2. So I think they're pretty good. And so what your record is kind of what you're going to be in the tournament. Now, there'll be an upset every 10, 20 years, but most of the time it's those 5 or 6 or 7 that have lost a couple games during the year. And they've done it all year in all kind of conditions and all kind of road games, and so I think that you get other teams past that, and you really start seeing some blips on one guy doesn't do what he's supposed to do, and then they won't win the game. And so those 6 or 7 are the ones I think that they can have an off night, still win a game, which always happens with the national champion team, usually a 1-point game in most cases. And so I think that I don't think there are 13 teams. Now, you'd be lucky if you pick 13 teams and one of the last 12 or 13th won it. But, I think most of the wins are coming out of those top 6 or 7 teams.
Or at least, Final Four caliber. Like I'd say Arizona, Michigan, Houston, Duke. Those are your projected 1 seeds. I'd throw UConn in there. I'd throw Kansas in there with the way they've been playing. I'd throw Purdue in there. I'd throw Florida. So that's 8. What about, teams like, Iowa State or Illinois? I think Illinois is pretty interesting. They are kind of in a slump right now after losing 2 of their last 3. I think North Carolina, when healthy, when they have Caleb Wilson healthy, maybe Michigan State. But what about Illinois?
Yeah, see, those teams are the ones I think have blips that you wonder when that blip's going to be in the tournament. You got to win 6 games, and to win 6 games, you got to win 3 or 4 that are playing teams like yourself that are really good. So you got to shoot it well. You got to make free throws. You got to not get somebody hurt or foul trouble. So, it's a process of elimination over 3 weekends. It's whether you have a chance to do it or not. And I just think and I left out Houston. I think Houston is one of the teams. So those 7 or 8 would be the teams I would think that you'd have the best chance of going into it, picking one of those to have a chance to win it. And the rest of them will fall by the wayside by the second weekend.
We had Taylor Barnett on yesterday, former Belmont men's basketball player, and we asked him about a team that we're not talking about enough. And what's a team in your estimation that we haven't mentioned a whole lot that could be a lot more dangerous come tournament time?
At this point in the year, I mean, is Vanderbilt ever going to get their guards back? I mean, I think they're a team that could go deep into the tournament because of how well they shot it. And 2 or 3 guys could score. Now they're relying on Tanner to score in most cases. Of course, Washington the other night, I don't think Washington you can depend on getting 20-something. He never was that kind of player at North Carolina, or he'd have played a lot more. But, I think Coach Byington's doing it with mirrors right now, and he needs to get people back. But I think they're a team that could do well if their players come back.
Well, we appreciate the time, Lee. Enjoy your time in Florida. I'm pretty jealous because we've had some warm weather, but it's not Florida-like. So continue to enjoy your time in Florida, and we appreciate the time today.
Well, I'll give you a weather update next Thursday because I'll be here next Thursday too.
Just rub it in. Rub it in, Lee.
Rub it in, Lee. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Good to talk to y'all. Bye.
That was Lee Fowler, one of 2 college basketball insiders. Ron Bargatze, I couldn't tell you where he is, and I don't think Kelly knows either. So maybe we'll have him back next week, or maybe not.
He's an older fella. He might not know where he is right now.
See, I wanted to say that, but I didn't know if it was
I'm always that guy to say that when everybody else wants to say, Parker. You know that.
Yeah, that's true.
By now.
We'll I wanted to touch on the national championship conversation. We'll do that on the other side. This is the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall is the new home for our Football Night in Nashville promotion. Their food is terrific. Their TV setup looks like a racing sports book in Vegas. And if you're a sports fan, you can't beat it. Starting September the 4th, we'll broadcast from Sports and Social every Thursday night. There's Pop-A-Shot, great football, and the chance to win a beautiful Mikey's Motors golf cart. See you at Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
And starting at $25 a month with 4 lines. Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Same price claim applies only to the base monthly price of our $45 plan from October 2009 to present.
We're back to the greatest hits of all time. Totally Hits.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. Here's we wrap up the Thursday edition before Kelly heads off to an undisclosed location, and we don't know if he'll ever be back.
Don't say that. That's not good. I don't want to get into that.
He will be back. He will be back. Let's
be positive, Parker. Let's be positive. You talk about me being negative sometime, but I'm just bringing up the news, man. This is what everybody wants to know about, I feel, because I want to know about it. When you got somebody like Lee Fowler, he was an AD. Like, how are you handling this as an AD in this new world of college athletics?
That is true, and I am glad that we have him on because he's somebody that has held high up positions, so he has way better insight than any of us could possibly have. Real quickly, the U.S. did beat Latvia 5-1, nice. So they will advance. I don't know who they're going to play. I think they would play on Friday. So if somebody does know the answer to that, please put it in the YouTube chat. But they did win that game. So the U.S. is moving on. And as the great philosopher Kelly Holcomb once said, all my homies hate Latvia. So the U.S. has won 5-1. Now, let's get into the college basketball conversation. We were talking about national championship contenders. Kelly, I do believe there are more than 8. So you have Arizona, Michigan, Houston, Duke, who are your projected number 1 seeds. And then you have UConn. I absolutely believe they're firmly in the conversation. I believe Kansas is in the conversation. I believe Purdue's in the conversation. And I believe Florida. Now, the interesting teams that you have, ranked super high, you have Iowa State, you have Nebraska, but Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game before. They don't really have the experience. So I don't trust that they'll make a deep run. Now, they may be a second team type weekend. Type team, so we'll have to see. Michigan State is pretty interesting. I think they're Final Four caliber. North Carolina with a healthy Caleb Wilson, I think is Final Four caliber. I just don't know what the timetable will be on that injury. Gonzaga is a really interesting team because they previously had one loss, the unexpected loss to Portland last week. I think it was more so just they sleptwalked through it than Portland was just that much better. I don't think that was the case at all. So I might
So let me ask you this, Parker. Do you think Gonzaga has a chance to win it? Because Gonzaga's been there and they've had better teams, but they just have proven that they can't get over the hump. You know what I'm saying? So until they do it, I don't think Gonzaga's a meaningful, like, they may go deep into the tournament, but I don't think let's be honest, I don't think they're going to win it.
They've played in the national championship game, but they've never won it in school history.
I know.
So
yes.
They may go to the Final Four. They may go to the Elite Eight. Maybe not. Maybe not. Iowa State, they're really good on defense. They have been under TJ Altsberger, but offense has kind of been their Achilles heel. And then you also have Illinois in there. When Illinois is clicking, I do think they're definitely Final Four caliber. I mean, they were ranked number 5 in the country last week, but they've just been slipping up. And I mean, Big Ten play just beats you up. So maybe not 13, but I could definitely make the case for 10 teams.
I'm kind of like Lee though. Like you look at it, like Florida's done it, UConn's done it, Duke's done it. Houston, they've been a long time ago, but like I don't know if they're, Kansas has done it. The teams that seem like that they've done it usually get there again. You know what I'm saying? But the teams that haven't, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. That's why I said Gonzaga. I just don't. I'm kind of more aligned with what Lee said. It's kind of like football. I think there's only a few football teams that can win it each year. If you look down the last 40 years, there's really been no true surprise. If you kind of really look back on it, and I think it's kind of the same way in basketball. Like UConn was the dominant team those 2 years that they won it back to back, and like nobody really challenged them. Like, Villanova was dominant in one of their years. They've done it. It's the teams that have done it are the ones that get there in the end, to me.
Right, and I can't help but think of the year, and maybe this was just an anomaly, but when UConn won their first national championship, they were a 4 seed. And they were going against the San Diego State team, who I believe was a 6 seed. So, and maybe it's not that way this year. I don't know. I think I probably feel comfortable saying there are 10 or close 8, 9, 10 national championship contenders this year. I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out. But as we wrap up here on the show, that leads me to one thing, and that's the bet of the day. And yesterday, I got a much needed win, and I can't even find it. So I picked Florida money line yesterday versus Georgia, and they came through. They came through for me. They beat the brakes off of Georgia in Coleman Coliseum. Florida has won their last 4 games by an average of 29 points. So they're clicking on all cylinders. They beat, and I'm gonna pull it up here. They beat Georgia 86-66. So Georgia is one of those teams that, SEC plays tough. They're 5-6 in conference play. They just need to hold on, and they'll be an NCAA tournament team. But tonight, I really, really wanted to bet the Vanderbilt Texas game, since that's kind of the game of the night. But I'm not touching it, Kelly. I'm too scared. I'm too scared. My heart is telling me Vanderbilt because they're at home, and I believe the two teams are very similar, but also Texas. They have a really good player in Madison Booker, so I don't know.
There you go. Hey, that's what makes all this stuff hard, man. That's
right.
That's why I commend you and George do it. I don't want to do it, man. I'm not into it like that, but that's why I commend y'all, because I'm going to bust your chops, but it's not easy, man. It is not easy to do that.
So I've decided to take the safe route, and Belmont has a game versus Northern Iowa, who just beat Murray State. Northern Iowa is a pretty good basketball team, but what gives me confidence is this game is at the Curb Event Center in Nashville. Belmont's a 4.5 point favorite. Give me Belmont money line tonight over Northern Iowa. Kelly, be safe wherever you might be traveling to. I don't know when we'll talk to you next, but hopefully it's not too soon because I'm sick of you.
All right, Parker. Talk to you, man. Be good.
All right. Be safe, Kelly. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on the George Plaster Show.
Now, here's your latest Fox 17 Code Red weather report.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. High temperatures in the low 50s and partly cloudy today. Overnight will stay dry as well, dropping down to the mid-30s with a push back up to 62 degrees for tomorrow.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.